Hi, gang. Welcome to Behind the Rhinestones. I am your host, Dinah Dare, and here I interview some of the stars of the burlesque and cabaret world. If you do enjoy these episodes, please do like and subscribe. And if you're over on YouTube, comment, as I am always bringing new interviews to yourselves. Today we have a lovely performer from London who always makes me laugh. It is the lovely Fou Fou Kaboom. Hi, Fufu. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
No, I'm so excited to see this. I've just noticed there's a bum over your shoulder. Is that a bum?
Yeah, it's a bum with like a cat's face coming. Hang on. You can see it with a little cat's face coming out the arse crack.
Oh my God, I really enjoy that.
Yeah, my friend, do you know Amber Eve? She's a Swiss performer.
I
Um,
know the name.
yeah, she's very, oh, I don't know if that's going back up now. She's very multi-talented. Can you, do you have special effects where you can add like a swish, swish, swish noise and then magically I'll have put this up by then? Yeah,
Yeah, we can do
there.
that. That's fine.
Yeah, she's very multi-talented and she makes a lot of collages using old magazines and I guess whatever she feels like, and she really loves cats. And I went to stay with her when she booked me for a show, and I saw this and I was in love, so she kindly let me take it home with me.
I adore that. You've been traveling quite a lot recently, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I've been really lucky. I've had quite a lot of international work, which is great. I love traveling, as
Mm.
do you.
Yeah, yeah. Tired of planes though. Love being there, hate planes.
The travel.
The travel.
And planes. I wish I could teleport. Like, I don't know, when I was little, I think I always used to like want my superpower to be like force fields or like something really noble like healing. But now I
Yeah,
really just wish I could teleport. How much time would we save? How much sleep would we get? Oh my God.
so much. And I just yeah, the traveling, love to travel, hate traveling
Yeah.
is probably a good summary because it's just not fun.
I can't anymore. I will because I want to get to the destination.
Oh, I love that we've opened this being like first world problems. We
Yeah.
hate
It's the ultimate first world problem.
it is. I love it so much. So I've weirdly known you for a while, which is kind of cool. And we tend to bump into each other pretty much every Edinburgh, although we were saying we didn't do it last year. But I know your first act was your Minnie Mouse act, is that right?
Yeah, that's a really good memory. First act I ever made. It's not the first act I ever performed, because it was a slow birth. But it is the first act I ever made.
That's the one that's like, yeah, which is there was crumbs of who you now are in that, but it was also quite different.
Yeah.
But I suppose I don't actually know how you ended up into it. So like, what is your burlesque origin story?
Well, I feel like, as with so many of us, I basically went to a show and was like, "Fuck me, I want to do that." So I went to see. I mean, look, do you want the long story? Or do you want the short story?
Give us the long story.
Long story. Okay. All right. Well, you've been warned. Basically, I used to live in Japan for like 2 years. And when I came back to England, a lot of my friends who were based in London had moved out of London. And I was like, I need friends. And one of my friends who still lived in London, she was part of a burlesque troupe. And it was one of those troupes where you pay a monthly subscription and you have 4 or 5 classes a month, and then you get to do a showcase. It's either once a year or twice a year. I can't remember. So I joined that for 2 years. I have to say, looking back, it wasn't what I necessarily now think of as burlesque. It was a lot more like showgirl, which was really fun and still taught me like a lot of really valuable things, like don't look at your feet while performing. Um, and yeah, it was it was just so many awesome, like powerful, talented women in a room, like deciding to take on this thing where a lot of them had no dance experience. They just fancied it, and I don't know, it was good energy.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, having done a burlesque troupe for like a year or something, I was like, I should actually go to a burlesque show. Since I'm a burlesquer now. So the Polly Ray's, I think it's called Between the Sheets. This must have been back in like 2017 or
hmm
2018. And I saw Kitty Bang Bang do her absinthe act. I don't know if you've seen it. My mind was just blown because it was so funny but so sexy and like high energy, and it was clever.
hmm
And it just made me go like, as fun as it is doing little dances to 42nd Street. I quite like to do something like that instead. Um, and then the second show I went to see, just to like nail in the coffin it, I saw Lolo Brown doing her Hangover act, doing that.
Oh my God, I love that act.
So obviously I was ruined and I couldn't do anything else, so I
Yeah,
had to start burlesque. Sorry if my volume gets too loud at any point as well. Just tell me
no, it's fine.
I get overexcited. Yeah, so then there was another girl in the troupe who was like, I would also like to do like a striptease act. So we sort of do you know Beatrix Valhalla?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
she was
cool.
sort of in the back of class being like, because the teacher was always like, oh, we're Xing because we don't have to show our boobies. And it was just Beatrix at the back of the class and me going like, we kind of want to show our boobies though. Then, well, I think we must have somehow met Belle de Beauvoir, the two of us, because then Beatrix ended up doing a scratch night that Belle was co-producing, and then I did it the next month.
Nice.
But it was a Christmas show, so although I'd been working for ages on the Minnie Mouse act, I needed a Christmas act, and so that's how I ended up. The first act I ended up performing was my Wise Man Who Brings the Gold act, which I still perform
Yeah.
every Christmas. Every Christmas, I'm like, what is this pile of nonsense? But yeah, people want to book it, so it. And it is really fun. Like I have a great time, but I'm always like, there's people around me covered in like rhinestones, like dripping in elegance, and then just me with like my little shitty gold beard that I've like covered in PVA and glitter, like and like a crown made of like zip ties. I'm just like, why am I here? But I enjoy it.
I always feel like, see, like Christmas acts, I'm like, I'm not going to invest a lot of money in that because it comes out once a year. So I feel like 10 out of 10 for yours there. Like, great.
I now have three Christmas acts, and I cannot even tell you the temptation every year to make a fourth. And I have to be like, no, like stop making acts for 1 month of the year.
Yeah, because you can't do them any other time.
And I have one-ish Halloween act, but three Christmas acts. And I don't know, it's just ridiculous. I don't think I'm a very Halloweeny person, whereas I am a very
Mm.
Christmassy person.
So that's where you lie. So I'm guessing then you performed, you did that, and then you were working on Mini, and then that was, were you hooked after you performed the first time? Was it that, or was it more of a slow thing, or?
So the first time I performed Gold, which is what I call the Wise Man act, because it's all about gold. I was so excited, so hooked. Loved it. Then the next show, for some reason, the next show wasn't Christmas, even though it was December. There I performed Minnie, and I was like, oh no, this doesn't feel like how I want it to feel at
Mm,
all. And that was probably also because having done Gold, where I was so like energetic and uninhibited and free, and then trying to do this act where I'd been trying to like, I guess, shoehorn myself into what I thought a burlesque act should be.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I just didn't really enjoy it. But it took a while for me to stop performing it because, like, the concept with the giant. So, for anyone who's not seen it, because I don't do it anymore, I'm Minnie Mouse and I have giant Minnie Mouse gloves, which I use as fans. Um,
Hmm.
so I still feel like there's something there, but I've never found a way to make it work where there's something beyond that initial visual joke. And that's not really enough to sustain a whole
Yeah.
act for me. So I've sort of ended up like semi-retiring it. I don't know why I'm doing this for retiring. But it's not never say never because I have vague ideas as to how I could make it work and I would like
Mhm.
to revisit it one day, but I've got other things that I'm more excited about at the moment, so I'd rather focus on them. And people keep telling me I have too many acts anyway, so I guess
No, that's a lie. You can't have too many. You
yeah,
can't have too many.
that's big burlesque telling us we can't have a million acts.
We can have as many as we want.
Let me express myself. Yeah, yeah.
And the act that you're probably most known for now is your Powder Puff MCR
Do you think so?
acts.
I would have thought it was
I,
egg, but okay, that's interesting.
maybe in London, but I would definitely say like up here, I would say you're probably more known for your Powder Puff one.
Oh, that's great because that's the first one I produced where I was like proud of it conceptually and felt like me.
Mm,
That's really nice.
I really enjoy that act. It's unhinged.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like you just got to let it out, and it's a nice safe space to do so. I don't want to be like, oh, let's all use burlesque as our therapy, but also, isn't it at least a little bit like I feel like
It's
it is.
de yeah, it's definitely a little bit for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, was there kind of a moment then when you realized that burlesque was going to be more than something you just dipped your toe into, or did you ever think it would become what it's become for you?
Um, I don't think so. I don't think I thought it would become this much of my life and my identity. Um, this much of my brain. I feel like if you like cut open my skull, it would be like, I don't know, like 80% burlesque, 20% everything else in my life. A big chunk for like family, partner, and everything else. No, I don't think so. I don't know what point. I think I'm just one of those people that I'm very like short-term goal oriented. So
Mm,
by the time I'd finished one goal, there was always another goal to aim for. So I just kind of kept going without really thinking about whether I should or I don't know. I didn't really have like a long-term projection of what I was doing. I'm quite a hedonistic person, I guess. And I knew that I enjoyed it. So I just wanted to keep doing it and doing it as much as possible and finding ways to keep it fresh for myself and all that jazz.
and I'm assuming for you, it's like a massive creative outlet as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I feel like I get to, I don't know how you feel about your burlesque persona versus your real life identity. But for me, my burlesque persona feels like me if I always had energy and and wasn't hideously anxious as a human being. So I think yeah, it's quite an addictive space to be in. Quite dangerous as well, because I've definitely gone too far the other way and I've started I mean peeping behind the rhinestones, my real name is Jess. So I feel like I've definitely gone too far in being like Foo Foo is all the good things about me, Jess is all the boring things about me, and then ending up with like quite a negative headspace about myself when I'm not performing, and I've had
Yeah.
to work to like pull that back and be like both have value. Anxiety is chronic, but it is there also for a reason. Like there's an evolutionary thing that made me develop anxiety, made us as humans develop anxiety. And my brain has decided to wire itself in this particular way, partially due to genetics, partially due to like environments that I've been in. Um, and it's there for a reason. It's trying to help me. So trying to listen to like both sides of
Yeah.
myself. Gone quite, I don't know, philosophical, psychological.
No,
I
I
quite
love it.
questionable.
These are the conversations I love having. No, I get it. I think when people ask me, is there a difference? I also always say that like Dinah is an exaggeration of aspects of me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the side of me that is that is super confident all the time or is silly and fun and all like is super outgoing and doesn't leave the show and immediately go to bed because she's knackered from having to deal with people. Like,
Oh my God, the social battery trade is so real.
so real.
I've been telling myself,
Um,
like, I need to, sometimes I come home and I'm like, I love you, but I need to not talk to anyone for a bit. I'm just gonna go watch Bob's Burgers, eat a pizza.
Anytime I'm at a festival, I come home and my partner's always like, "How was it?" And I was like, "I don't. Can I just not talk to you for like a day? Is that okay?"
These festivals are so intense because you're meeting so many people, and a lot of them you've been really excited to meet because often we all end up following each other online and getting excited about seeing each other's acts and stuff. So there's a lot of like, there's this big energy rush. And especially because you teach workshops as well, right?
Hmm.
Like I find especially with teaching because you're sustaining a really high level of energy for an hour, and I only teach one workshop, but it gets real loud. It gets real loud, and so I'm doing a lot of screaming to try and get
I was gonna say because I saw that you were teaching workshops and it's I can't remember what it is. Is it about like your face? It's about comedy and stuff, isn't it?
Foo Foo's facial fuckery because I love a name that the algorithm hates. Oh. So, but I just wanted something. I just love alliteration, so there we are. But yeah, it's all about like using your face as much as possible and sort of training yourself to communicate emotions at different percentages, but also like ideas or concepts, just communicating with the face, because that is a thing about burlesque is no fourth wall, but also no one can usually hear us. So even though I
Yeah.
sometimes yell at the audience, I don't know if they can ever hear what I'm saying. So you have to be able to communicate just with this baby.
And is
Yeah.
that something, do you have like training, like actor training or anything like that? Or is that just something that you've found over the years that you've managed to work out how to do? Or
That
was
would
it
be
natural?
great if I had training. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Uh, I feel it all the time, but I think we all do because we all come from such different backgrounds. So like someone coming from like purely dance background might be like, oh, I'm not theatrical enough. Someone coming from a theatre background might be like, I'm not dancey enough. Or people coming from like a very visual, like artist background. Yeah. So I don't have any uh training. I studied Latin and ancient Greek at university, so that was a lot of time in the library. I did have a social life, but yeah, none of it was performing based. But I think I've just always had quite an expressive face. Like the first compliment I ever remember receiving from someone, I must have got compliments before this, but for some reason this one stuck in my head. I was like 13 or 12 or 13,
Hmm.
and my best friend's mum said, "You have the most expressive eyebrows." And I just remember being like, what a weird thing to say to someone, but also I'm very flattered. So maybe positive reinforcement. I've just increased the eyebrow usage as time has gone on. Um,
It's,
yeah.
no, that's great. I remember someone saying something similar, but it wasn't a compliment. It was early in my career. I'm a project manager and work in tech, and I remember someone quite senior saying to me, "You really don't have a poker face." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair."
I think poker faces are overrated. Well, I always feel like I'm emotionally incontinent and like all my emotions are just always visible. But I have had people be like, "Oh no, you're a closed book," and I've realized that probably what's happening in those scenarios is that I'm so anxious that the like anxiety is overriding any other emotion my face could be showing at that time,
Yeah.
and that's why I appear like just like the same. But yeah, I think I'm also quite yeah, quite an open book.
It makes us good at what we do, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I like to think so.
So on that, then you've talked about being quite an anxious human. Um, how do you handle that sort of nerves and also putting yourself out there? You are open to like feedback and criticism. It's the world we live in. How do you handle that, and has how you've handled that changed from when you started?
Yeah. Yeah, I think 100% it has changed. Because before doing this, I was never really in such an environment where you receive feedback so immediately, or in that you were so exposed to feedback. And because I'd always had quite bad stage fright, I think it was a massive learning curve to get over the anxiety. I feel like burlesque has just taught me, like, because I love it so much, I've just
Hmm.
had to get over some things. And this is TMI, so feel free to like cut it out. But I was never comfortable using tampons before I started burlesque. But because then I had all these fancy costumes, I couldn't like bleed all over.
Yep.
And cups as a concept, I think are great, but freak me out. Um, it's
No,
like
I back you on that. I don't. It's
just
mm-mm.
like, what if my hands are dirty? And I'm like, anyway, whatever. Like, what the point of this podcast? But like, yeah, it's just forced me to just be like, I'm gonna have to find a way to deal with this because I love this enough that I don't want to stop. So I'm gonna have to figure it out. Which has paid dividends in other areas of my life because now I'm more confident presenting myself publicly. Speaking is still hard sometimes, but definitely less hard than it used to be. But just being in like a public setting, I guess, is less difficult now. So I guess to break it down into dealing with nerves and dealing with feedback, let's do feedback first. So I think I'm definitely, I think it's partly being a people pleaser. I'm definitely culpable of asking too many people for their opinions on because I don't know, I think I sort of naively when I started, had this idea that an act could just be like objectively great. And I was
Mhm.
just aiming for objective greatness, which now obviously I'm like, no. Like
No, that's not a thing. That's not a thing.
but yeah, I had this idea, so I would go to lots of different people with lots of different styles and ask them for their opinions. And I still feel like asking for feedback is really important, and I really value it and do it on the reg. Um, I love doing courses for that reason because I feel like that's such an immediate, safe way to get feedback from someone that you know is well intentioned.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, in general, I feel like now when I receive feedback, I have to sort of take it out of myself, like look at it, go, who is this from? Why have they given it to me? Um, do I objectively think there is a problem here? Can I do something about that problem? And then decide what I'm going to do. And that could be nothing. Like I mean, so for an example, recently I had someone unsolicited backstage comment on my stage makeup, and they were like, "Can I give you some feedback on your stage makeup?" And I was like, "Yes, please, for the love of God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I know, I know the eyeliner goes on the eye, but I don't really know much more than that. Like, I don't know what to do for my eye shape. Like I don't know." And then they gave me feedback, and that was really helpful. And that was like I could action. And going forward, we're gonna have a meetup, and we're gonna do like a. I'm just gonna give them, apply them with prosecco, and they're gonna teach me more about makeup, and that's great.
Oh, cute. That's nice.
I have also received feedback in a public setting that was just I didn't like it, and you have to just kind of go, okay, well, the only thing I could really do about that is stop performing that act or stop performing, and I'm not willing to do that. So
Mhm.
I'm just gonna have to go, thank you for your input. I am choosing to disregard it.
Yes.
Yeah. And on nerves, I think for me, I read this book a few years ago called The Clown Manifesto. Um, and the main point that I took away from that book was your only job, like as a performer, it is not to be the best. It's not to be the funniest, it's not to be the prettiest, it's not to be the sparkliest. Your only job there is to connect to the audience. Like
Mhm.
if you do that, your job is done. Go home, be happy, like reward yourself with a nice hot chocolate or whatever. Like I think when I because I naturally do a lot of like comparison and can feel inferior very easily. And a lot of people in the industry are like properly dance trained or theatre trained or whatever. And sort of looking around and going, I can't do any of that. Why is anyone even booking me? This makes no sense. And just having to be like, you know what, like this is my job. I come in,
Mhm.
I try and like with as many people in the audience as possible, make a connection if they're willing to receive it. Sometimes you can't make people have a good time, but people who are willing to receive it. And if I've done that, great, job done. And that took a lot of anxiety away for me, I think.
That totally makes sense. Yeah, as long as your audience has a good time,
Yeah.
like
You can't
that's
also make your opinion of yourself entirely dependent on the audience because sometimes you'll have an audience who did not know burlesque was on the lineup. They are not prepared for boobs.
yes.
They are not prepared for, yeah, they're not prepared to have a butt shimmied in their face. Like they thought that cabaret was like an old man with an accordion or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
So you can't make your self-worth dependent on your audience. I think that's something I really learned this year, having received that public negative feedback of like, I didn't like. It's just like, well, I can't just second guess myself the whole time. Like, is every single member of this audience enjoying this? No, I can't. I
Hmm.
just have to do the best job that I can do and try and enjoy it. Because if I enjoy it, then it's just far more likely that other people are going to enjoy it. So, literally, that's literally it. That's literally all I can do. So, that takes a lot of pressure off, I think.
I'm going to come back to the audience thing, but I think you commented recently on a clip of one of my interviews where someone said not everyone is going to like your acts, and you were like, this resonates. And I think that's something that we're not very good at remembering. There's so many different types of burlesque. Not everyone is going to love what you do, and that's okay, but that's a hard lesson to learn, I think.
Horrible. And I don't think I learned it until last year. And I think I'm still learning it. Like, and I've been doing this for over 7 years now. Like, how does it take this long? Yeah, I think yeah, it is just a really like necessary lesson. I don't think even just for being in burlesque, but for being in the arts, and probably, to be honest, for life.
Yeah. Not everyone's gonna like you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was that your people pleasing tendencies? Did they just like revolt across the room there?
I just want everyone to like me and think I'm cool. I was very aware I'm like the least cool person. Um, yeah, no, I think there is this natural part of me that just goes like, but why can't I make everyone like me? I try so hard. And just realizing that also trying so hard is also what's going to put some people off. Like I've also had that feedback of like I understand that you do a lot of these faces because you don't think you're pretty, but you don't have to think that way. And then just me being like, I mean, maybe that's true, but I think on like at least on a conscious level, I just enjoy being a bit clowny, and that's
Yeah.
why that happens. So I think I think I'm gonna keep doing that. But it is like this conscious thing of you have to just decide like what
Mhm.
feels right for you, and you just have to decide to stick with it.
Yeah. Me and I have chats all the bloody time, which is why we've started the other podcast because we can't shop. And one of the things we talked about a lot is sometimes, yes, you get feedback and that you have to make a choice of is this for me or is it not? Because not every piece of feedback is valid. It's someone's opinion at the end of the day.
Valid to them, like all feelings are valid. It's valid to them. Whether it's going to be right for me or for whoever's receiving the feedback is a different story. And also, people don't know like where your act comes from or where your style comes from, like how it's formed. And sometimes, if they have the
Mhm.
context, maybe they think differently. But ultimately, they only have what they see for 4 to 6 minutes, and that's all we. That's the only opportunity we really have. So
Yeah, which is a limited period of time also.
yeah, I think it's quite interesting when I watch talking acts, they tend to be more flexible because they're not constrained by the time limit that we have of our own music. Sometimes we perform with live bands who can go on forever, and that's lovely, and that gives us more freedom. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I feel like they've got more capacity to adapt, whether they choose to or not depends on the performer. But they have more capacity to adapt to their audience, which I just find and I find that really interesting to watch. And I think you can learn something from watching every art form, like whether that's looking at a painting or stand-up comedy or clowning or I'm trying to think of something like really different that's art, but I can't right now. I don't know, crochet. Like you can learn something from everything. And I think that's an interesting skill where it, they have to find a way to be themselves, but also like adapt a little bit for the room so that they can take the room with them.
Mm.
Trying to find a way
Yeah,
to translate that to burlesque, I think, is really interesting concept.
that is really interesting. If you crack that, let me know.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if I like that, my teach
was
might
gonna
work.
say if you get sign me up to that workshop immediately.
Yeah, I think the skill of adapting to a room is really tricky. And I feel like sometimes I manage it and sometimes I don't. And I think it's often depends on how confident I feel in myself that day. Because if I'm not feeling confident and then I feel like the room aren't digging it, and then I'm just like, oh my God, like me. And I'm like pushing like harder. But sometimes I think it's more successful if you have a room that's a bit unsure of what's going on, which especially happens in settings where you like pop up and there's
Yeah.
not necessarily an introduction to who you are, but you're suddenly there taking your clothes off, and whoever's in the room just kind of has to get on board or leave, I guess. Yeah, I find often like trying to like slow down and if possible actually yell at people. Like sometimes like I do a venue called Cellar Door sometimes, and sometimes if they're like a bit like, oh, what's this? What's happening? I'll be like, bum, what's this? An arm? And then because you're like acknowledging that, yeah, this is a bit weird, like let's
Yeah.
all have the ride together, it gets easier. And then they can kind of like hop on board.
Yeah.
But that's not going to work for everyone's style. That's just something that works for me. And I have not by any means got 100% hit rate with that. Sometimes sometimes it also just, I don't know, the vibes aren't there. Like it's not your night. But again, all we can do is what we can do.
Yeah, I was going to ask about how you kind of adapt when you're not getting the vibes back from the room because it's hard. I've seen people talking about this online a lot where folk are like, "Oh, you can try and engage and pull them in. You can just keep doing your best and playing with it. You can." I think there's things you can do, but you can't always guarantee that that's going to actually pull people in, especially if you're just performing like in a bar or
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially if people just didn't know you were going to be there. That's always a really fun thing to happen.
I've had that once or twice and it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, I think I used to push really hard to be like, you're getting on board, get on board the foo foo train. Choo choo, foo foo. But I think I've learned to be a bit more like, oh, okay, you didn't buy a ticket for the foo foo train. Well, let me show you what it's like, and you can choose to get
Mm,
on or not. Like, let's see how we vibe.
mhm,
If you're not getting on, I'm just going to leave the station and continue the act. Like, because I've been paid to do it. I'm still going to have a nice time because I still enjoy the performance. So obviously,
mhm.
it's better if the audience are into it, but yeah, I'm still going to have a nice time. So yeah,
That's fair. Um, so obviously we've talked about we haven't actually acknowledged the fact that you are like comedy queen as far as I'm concerned. Like your comedy is hilarious. All of your acts are so fun. I know you're like, oh, um, so funny. I was taught this to people before. Do you know when you give someone a compliment and they don't know what to do and they do the scrunched nose? They go, we all do it. Yeah, me. What one of your acts is your favorite one to perform?
comedy wise or just in general.
Just in general. I'm going to come back to the comedy thing, but just in general.
I feel like it changes all the time. Or
Mm.
like there are definitely some acts that I don't invest as much emotionally in because I've made them for a specific purpose. Like maybe I've made them for those bar settings where I know that the audience doesn't care about storyline. They just they might not even want me to be there. So I just need to like but I've appeared on dance floors where I've ended up like between like groups of mating 20 somethings and I'm just like, well, I'm here now, so I've got to keep going. But I
Yep.
appreciate that all you want to be doing is tugging each other, and it's just me with like a boa being like, what was the question? Favorite act? That was it.
Yes.
Uh, for a really long time, I think I would have said Powder.
Mm.
Because I do really love Powder. And again, it was the first act that really felt like me. I think over time, I've tweaked Egg enough that I feel very strongly about that as well.
Hmm.
I also, in terms of like newer stuff, I guess, I really love the Groove Act that I've brought out. I always feel like it feels a bit arrogant to be like, I love this thing I've made. But also they are our babies. Like we raise them
Yeah.
and nurture them and like suckle them and, help them learn
Yep.
to walk and all those other analogous things. Um, and I don't know, there's something about that one because it is a bit different for me. Uh, it's like a lot more conceptual, a lot less story, and it's a much more about a feeling that's been quite interesting to explore. And it's been
Mm.
quite interesting to explore how it impacts my connection with the audience and like how to work around not having like an immediate clowny character, but still make a connection. All those kinds of it's been an interesting intellectual challenge as well as costuming challenge. It was such a costuming challenge.
That costume is gorgeous though, with the
I mean,
big hat.
Serafina Taylor is just absolute queen. Like I literally went to her, I was like, can you make me an oversized record that's a hat and it spins and it breaks in half? And I expected her to say no to at least one of those things. And she was like, yeah, I reckon we could do that. And it's like, okay. Like I think it took us a year and a third in the end because it was just, I mean, practically like no one else has this fucking hat.
Yep.
Far as I know. So it was a lot of trial and error with like materials and like even things down to the labels and making sure that they looked right and like as in the record labels.
Yep.
So I'm it's the first act in a really long time where I've gone in like money first, if that makes sense. Like,
Mm.
yeah,
Yep.
since Mini, where I felt like I put in a lot of money and then didn't like it, I've had a rule for myself where I make like a cheap beta version first, and
Yep.
then let it develop. And if it becomes something that people are booking, then I will invest more money in it. But for this particular concert, I was just like, I can't make any of this myself. Like I don't have the skill, so
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go like straight balls to the wall, just like straight in, no loop, straight in. And it was terrifying because it's like this is a lot of money,
Yep.
and people might hate it. And what's more worrying is I might hate it because then if I hate it, I'm not going to want to do on the work on it to make it
Yep.
something people like, and want to book and to give me money for to reimburse myself for the cost of the costume. So it was quite stressful. But thankfully I loved it from the first minute I performed it, which is always like such a relief and doesn't happen
Oh
with
yeah. I was exactly the same. I had the idea. I sat on the idea for my baby Bell Act for at least a year because I knew I was going to have to invest in the costume up front, and I was terrified that I was going to hate
it's a real fear. It's a real but yeah, I'm
And
glad.
it's such there's such like specific costumes. If you're doing a costume that is very specific to a concept, it's you can't then just like reuse it for something else. You're kind of fucked.
This is also the bane of my life is that all of my costumes are so specific.
Yeah.
So trying to like when people make that joke about throwing a pair of devil horns on and making something a Halloween act and then throwing on
Mhm.
like a Santa hat and making a Christmas act. It's like, well, I can't throw a pair of actually I probably could put it on the egg and then be a deviled egg, but I couldn't put a Santa Claus hat on the egg act, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Um
now you have to be a deviled egg at some point because that's fucking hilarious.
just like end up rubbing like a like orange yellowy mousse on myself at the end. Um
I don't see that at Halloween this year. I'm going to be so mad.
All right, I'll try and like lock it away. Um, but yeah, so I think that like those three acts, like Egg was definitely not one that I necessarily like loved from the first time I performed it, but I had faith in it that it could become something. Um, Powder I loved from the first time I did it. Groove I loved from the first time I did it. I think it's interesting because sometimes you try and explain an act concept to people, and then people will be like, um, I don't get it, or like, I'm not sure about that. And if you were like, no, this is gonna work, then
Mhm.
you've got the strength of vision to carry it through. Like I definitely had the first few times I tried to explain egg to people, they were like, "What?" And everyone being like, "Oh, you're a chicken in the egg," and be like, no, I'm an egg. Because I feel like eggs are quite sexy. They're like gelatinous and wobbly, and all that good stuff. Whereas I feel like a chicken is like sometimes a bit
Not.
aggressive. I don't want that energy. I wanted like eggy, goopy fun.
And you've definitely got that. And it seems like from the start then comedy was is what you've done. Was that just the natural place for you to be after like you said you saw these kind of acts and you were like that's my type of burlesque?
Yeah, I think I knew from the start, I wanted something that felt like it was somewhere between classic and neo, maybe.
Hmm.
Like I'm definitely
Hmm.
more of a neo performer, but it's almost all of my acts are very heavily classic inspired in some way. Like I really like looking at props that are commonly used or tropes and trying to find a way to make them my own. So
Yeah.
almost every act like will have something like that. That maybe isn't clear by the end, but was part of the start. I don't think I necessarily, I think I thought I was going to be more cheesecake, which I guess is what Minnie was, like kind
Hmm.
of like, which I definitely do sometimes, but I think I do it usually a bit ironically, and then it's going to lead somewhere else,
Yeah.
like contrast and light and shade in the act and stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it took me a really long time to think of myself as a comedy performer because I never really thought of myself as a funny person. I think I can be fun, hopefully. But I've never really thought of myself as like funny. Uh,
Yeah.
so it was definitely a few years in when people started calling me like a comedy burlesquer. I was like, am I? I guess. I guess I do feel good when the audience laughs. So that is kind of what I'm chasing a lot of the time. And I guess that is probably leading me in that direction. But yeah, it's like I don't think all of my acts are comedy, so I don't necessarily know if I would call. I think I, when I try and explain it to people who don't do burlesque, I'm usually like I do more of like comedy burlesque because people understand the word comedy and they might understand the word burlesque, so they can kind of put something together. I'm not really sure what I describe myself as to people who do burlesque. I guess I say neo
Yeah.
influenced by classic, but some of my acts like have funny moments, but they're not. The main purpose of them isn't funny. Like the '90s act is more like let's have a good time, let's have a party. I made that for like bar settings, and there's comedy moments in there, but like the main drive is like woo woo, let's have a great
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
It's more high energy, it's fun. I suppose that's kind of how in my head, yeah, it's comedy, but then it's high action, it's fun, you're always on stage having fun.
yeah.
Um I personally would find it very strange to watch you do a slow burn. I'm not saying you could like no doubt you could do one, but I feel like it would be really weird watching you do one.
I have actually been going back to because I feel like you can always learn. I've actually been going back to
Yeah.
some sort of like beginner, or not beginner classes, but like fundamental burlesque classes,
Hmm.
like practicing doing that slow burn because I think it's good to have in the arsenal.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think I'd maybe make an act with that, but I like seeing what I can learn from it and make
Hmm.
going with it. And that will probably be that I like go high, 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 slow, high, high, high to create dynamics in the
Yeah.
act, which I think I sort of do to a certain extent, but I think I could do better.
Mm.
So yeah, that's yeah, interesting that you
Which
said.
I can totally see. And I think if you did a slow burn, it'd be amazing and everybody would be like, oh my God, I can't believe she's
I
doing
think
this
I would
because it's
hate
not
it.
what you're known for.
I think I would hate it if it was a whole act. I think I could do it for a bit, um, and then lead back to high energy. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think it's. I think I'm quite as a person slash persona. I think I'm quite excitable, um, and I'm not a very patient person in the sense that like when you get to a bus stop and it says like 4 minutes till the next bus and I'm just like oh my god I'll walk like I can't cope with waiting. So frequently I'll be like my partner, I'll be going down the street and I'll be like oh okay I guess we could get the bus, it is cold and rainy, and then it will be like 3 or 4 minutes and I'll be like let's walk to the next stop because then it will like catch up with us a bit and I'll have less time waiting, uh, which is I guess a weird quirk of my personality.
No, I quite like it though. But it definitely makes sense as to why you do the type of work that you do, like the type of style that you do.
Unexpected insights.
I suppose we kind of touched on it, but like, how do you go about like keeping your work fresh, but also avoiding being creatively burnt out?
Such a good question. I think like, oh my God, this is probably a really douchey phrase to say, but
Oh no, do it. I love it. I love it. Do it anyway.
douche out. Let me just, here we go. I feel like my work has to be interesting to me.
Hmm.
And the reason that it's interesting to me can be like very varied. Often I'm trying to challenge myself to do something. Um, I think I've always been the sort of person that enjoys being given a task and then finding an unexpected way to do the task. So like essays at uni, like I did terribly at exams, but my feedback in all the tutorials was always like, "Oh, you think really creatively about the questions," which isn't great for exams, but is pretty fun for tutorials.
Yep.
Um, so I think that's always been my kind of mindset. So I usually try and give myself like if I want to make something new or if I have to make something new because I've been commissioned to make an act for a particular event, um, I usually try and figure out what are what are the bars of this jail that I'm going to push against.
Mm.
Like what's yeah, what are the limitations here? And then trying to play around with that until I find something that makes me either go, oh yeah, that could be interesting, or go, those are like the two trains to follow. And if I don't have either of those reactions, then I know from experience if I try and make an act based off that, it's either not going to be very good, which sometimes is fine if you're
Mhm.
not being paid that much to make something, um, and you're just doing it, or you're making something just to like express something in you at the time that you just need to get out. But yeah, if I'm doing something that I'm like birthing an act is always difficult
Yeah.
I have to spend like so much of my time and energy on getting this into a place where I feel content with it. Because I have acts that I've been performing for years that I'm still like, no, it feels no, it's not right yet. Um, so it's going to be like years that I have a
Hmm.
relationship with this act. So I need to be interested in it enough to drive me to continue it to, I don't know. I think an act is ever really finished, but to a point where I'm like happy to let it rest. Yeah.
And not constantly working on it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that part of probably what allows me to do that is acknowledging that some acts I'm making more for me, um,
Mm.
not making them for a particular setting. Like for example, for Cabaret Roulette, we had an animal theme, and like the first act that came to my mind was like Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to make an act where I'm an angry goose, and I'll have an ever increasing array of butter knives, like in ever increasing sizes, and that will be really fun. And so I didn't invest much in the costume, but I did invest like time and energy in it because it
Yeah.
interested me. Um, but now that act has been booked, like I've been flown over to do it places, and I'm like, it's like cheap feathers. Like for one line. It's two skirts strapped to my arms. I just sort of flap. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, I guess the way that I try and avoid creative burnout is by like giving myself a framework to push against slash play within, and not putting pressure on things to have to please,
Mm.
like, or not that they have to please others, I guess.
Yeah.
She says as the people pleaser, but trying to focus on like what do I want to make in this instance, and always having an eye to like I want people to enjoy themselves. I want them to like it. I want us to all have a nice time together. That's a lot of the point for me. But that does by necessity mean I need to be enjoying it as well. So like let's
Yeah.
focus on that bit first, and then we'll get to the trying to make it inclusive for the audience. That
I
makes
think it's interesting what you said there about making acts for yourself and then you've been flown out and booked. Like, I think something that's probably been the past year for me, I finally got my head around it that, like, people would always say, oh, be your authentic self on stage. And I'm like, but I am. But I think what I realize that means to me is making something just for me because I want to. That's when I'm probably the most authentic. Because, like, I've got acts that I'm always surprised when people book it because I'm like, this is a weird fucking act that I've made just because I had the idea and I wanted to do it. It wasn't really with anything else in mind. It didn't start with a prop or anything like that. Like, it literally just started with an idea in my head that I decided I wanted to do it, and it didn't really cost that much to make.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I agree. And that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean we're not like you can you can I once read an interview with a Blasker who I love. I think it was yeah, it was Felicity Furore. She did this great interview, and she was saying that she thinks in like kind of the categories of
Mhm.
burlesque. I hope I'm quoting correctly here because it was years ago that I read this. But like, what are some common themes that often come up for burlesque shows, and then like having an act for each of those categories. And
Mhm.
I remember thinking like, oh, that's so smart, because she's not only like making sure that she has stuff that's bookable, but she's also making it like it's her version, like what she
Yeah.
likes. And I think that fits with what I'm saying of like giving yourself a framework. And it doesn't always work. Like I still feel like I'm trying to make a classic act that feels like me. And that I really struggle with that. And
Mhm.
keep your eyes peeled for a classic act coming out that will probably not be very good. But yeah, I'm gonna like work at it and try and get it there. But yeah,
Sometimes it,
having that you can like explore means that you can create work that is yours, but also that you're like with an eye to making money. Because
Mhm.
ultimately, like we need to at the very least pay off the debt that we accrue from buying all the rhinestones. So yeah.
God, yeah. And she said it takes years. Like, my blue and gold one, Calypso. I've been doing that for just 3.5 years, 4 years now, and it's still not at its final version. Like, I'm still having feedback sessions with people. I'm still making changes to it. The version I did in, 2023 is extremely different from the version I'll be doing this year. And I think that's something that people need to remember as well, is that things can drastically change as you're going through it.
Them to grow with you. I think that's like, yeah, I really applaud what you're doing there of just sticking with it and like growing it like organically over
Because
time.
there's something there that I do like it, but I've for a few years I'm like, there's something missing, there's something not working. And then I had a feedback session with Poison Ivory at the end of last year, and she's just like, she got it. She immediately saw what it was, and we had a session about it. So I'm excited to get it back out this year, and hopefully this will be as close to the final iteration as I will ever get.
Yeah, well, as we said, no act's ever done. You'll always want to upgrade things. Like there'll always be a, if I had Dita production budget, what would I
No,
do?
so yeah, the dream.
And we can always aim for that because I think it's always good to have something to aim for. Like
Hmm.
not beating ourselves up for not achieving it immediately, I think is the challenge. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh God, yes. Um, right, I've got two final questions. So that's kind of one, but I'll do that one last. So what has kind of been your biggest like achievements in burlesque so far then? Those moments where you're like, fuck, pinch me.
Um, I think I'll give two. Um, one of which was the first time I did Hebden Bridge Burlesque Festival,
Mm,
not as a competition, but as like a booked performer, like
yep.
yeah, part of. I think I was in the Laugh Your Knickers Off show. That for me was like massive.
Hmm.
Um, and then probably, well, actually, okay, so I'm going to give three. The second one was the first time I was paid to perform abroad. So not again, not going for a competition that I'd, paid for my application for and all that jazz, but
Hmm.
like was being paid to be there. Um, that was really special because that felt like, oh my God, I feel like a star.
Yeah.
And but I think like probably the one that like really sticks with me as like because I remember because I handled it so badly. Was the first time that someone came to a show and afterwards you were like having a boogie celebrating the fact that you got through another show.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, a audience member came up and was like, "Oh, I came to the show to see you." And I just remember going, "Oh, I'm gonna go get a drink," like running away because I was so like overwhelmed by this concept that someone was like, I like what she does. I want to go
Mm.
see her do it live. So, she could have been doing anything that night. She could have been having a takeout on a sofa. She could have been like making passionate love to someone, but instead well, I mean, she could do both those things on the same night, I suppose. But she chose that particular moment to come see the show because I was in it. And that was like, oh my God, people care about like what I'm doing. What? So I think that was like probably the most impacting. Um,
Mm.
and then all these other ones have been like amazing, but you kind of know those moments are going to be amazing. You know when you're in the biggest burlesque festival in the UK, that's going to be amazing. You know when you're getting flown over, that's going to be amazing. But just like that mindset shift of like, oh, I'm not doing this in a vacuum, and it's not just all my friends. Like we're not all just like patting each other on the back, being like, oh, good work. Like other people who I don't know are caring about what I'm doing here, and that's yeah, that was I still wish I could go find her and like in a non-creepy way stalk her, track her down and be like, look, I want to buy you a drink because that was a really amazing moment for me and I'm really grateful to you. And I definitely did not make that clear at the time.
Did you just go away and have like a small panic attack in the corner and then be
I
like,
just went to the bar and was like, I need to talk to someone else that I'm not thinking about this. I think I just immediately just started chatting to some other random stranger about something far less I guess emotional. Um yeah. Yeah.
oh, that's so sweet. And so I suppose to finish on, what are Fufu's goals? You said you always like to have goals. Tell me.
Yeah, but they're all short term. I'm really bad
Doesn't.
at having like a long view. And
Oh no,
all
I don't have any. If see people are like, "What's your 5-term plan?" I'm like, I don't know, still be alive.
yeah.
Like at this point.
Uh, yeah,
So I
I'm
don't care even if it has short-term goals. Just tell me one or two.
yeah, I think I'm also working really hard to try and make sure that my goals are not things that are externally dependent at the moment because I think
Hmm.
like last year one of my goals for 2025 was to hit 8,000 followers by the end of the year or something stupid, which I have like very little control over, like especially because I'm terrible at posting. Um, and I think I was at 7,999 on New Year's Eve, and I was just watching it like, come on. And then it was like, I think I actually went down just before midnight. And then on New Year's Day, because I'd obviously performed New Year's Eve and then I got some new followers from that, I then was over 8K and I was just like, "Ah, by one day, I missed that goal." So I'm trying really hard to be like more mindful of making goals things that I guess are more like mindset based.
Hmm.
So at the moment I'm working really hard on trying to make sure I challenge myself because again, I mean, if it wasn't clear from any of this, I am a massive nerd and I also will not undertake any kind of self-compassion or kindness or care unless I see scientific evidence that it's going to help me in the long run. Um, I watched a very interesting documentary that was talking about neuroplasticity and how to sort of ensure creativity, but also to help your mind remain factory fresh for as long as possible, the best thing that you can do is challenge yourself to do things that you are deeply uncomfortable doing because they're new skills. So helping train your brain to be fast at rewiring um, is essentially what neuroplasticity is for anyone who's not familiar. So I'm pushing myself to go to dance classes, which I would previously have been intimidated to go to. I'm pushing myself to do more talking on stage, pushing myself to do some producing. I'm pushing myself to do classes that I are not directly necessarily related to burlesque but are in the performing sphere so that I can kind of like cross-seminate um,
Hmm.
and try and like have fresh influence or bring myself new challenges like learn something from like I really want to do a stand-up comedy course basically and I feel like I want to like see what I learned there and then how can I apply that to my burlesque practice. So that's
Have you reached out and spoken to Millie Dollar? Because she did that.
I know that she does stand up. Yeah. I haven't actually seen her in a long time. The last message I sent her was like such a fangirl message because I found a pitch like I found all the stuff that was on my pin board at uni and there was a picture of her and obviously I had no idea who she was at the time because I didn't know what burlesque was.
Hmm.
But I was really into like I mean the female form and like pin up and stuff and she had this gorgeous photo in a magazine and I just like cut it out and like stick it on my wall. And I found it and I was like, not to be creepy, but I found a picture of you I had on my wall like 10 years ago. Yeah, anyway, she's excellent. I don't know where I was going with that.
You should mess her up because she does stand like she made that move into stand up
No,
and does a
I'm
bit of
really
it.
good at it though. I feel like I'm going to be terrible at stand up. I think I'll get up there and be like, I have nothing of interest to say.
This is lies. So everyone can just look out for your stand-up comedy show at the Fringe this year then, yeah?
My
Yeah.
Netflix special?
Yeah, next
Like,
week's special. You'll be hosting SNL by next year, it'll be fine.
can you imagine? Oh my God, I'd die. I think also the pressure I would actually die. I don't think I would cope.
I actually saw the panic in your face there. You were like, oh no, can you imagine? And it wasn't like a nice, can you imagine? It was like a fear.
Like on a basic level, like my dance teacher messaged me after I posted a video of a class I did with him last week, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make you do it solo next week," and I was like, "No, thank you." And he was like, "No, you got to do it," and I was like, "Okay, you have to do it with me." Because it's yeah, I don't know, it's scary. Like in burlesque, like because we've made it up, like we could do anything. People don't know if it's the actual act or not. Whereas if it's someone
Mhm.
else's choreography, and you just instead of I don't know, you just do like the Susie cue for a full minute because you've forgotten what the actual choreography was, then it's a bit more noticeable. Um,
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more noticeable. I saw that choreo you posted though, and it was fast.
it was so good, but I feel like I have zero facial expression on because I'm so busy just being like, like just trying to remember it, like keep up.
I'm exactly the same. I've started going back to just to, like dance classes, and it's like heels classes locally. They're really good fun, but it's a lot faster than I'm obviously used to dancing. Um, it's very 5, 6, 7, 8, which is not how I choreo, and I have no face because I'm too busy trying to remember what the fuck comes next. Like, get my brain's going, this isn't it. Like, just keep in time.
Yeah, my God, 100%. Like the base level of panic that erupts in my brain
Hmm.
just for trying to remember, like, what is the next step?
It's good for your brain, though. It's good for your memory, is it not?
Neuroplasticity. It is amazing. So that's why well, it's not the only reason why we do it. It's a heavy reason. But I think also, I don't know, I don't know how you feel, but I definitely went through a period where, because I love doing any course or class going, like if someone starts a new ballet school, I'm like, what can you teach me?
Yeah.
Let's learn some skills. And then I had somebody say to me, like, you gotta stop doing beginner courses. Like it's too late for you. You're not a beginner anymore. And so for like a couple of years, I was really like anxious about taking classes. Like
Mm.
even dance classes, I think I got a bit in my head that like I should know how to do this, even though I'm not dance trained, so why would I? Um, but yeah, just recently I had a conversation, I think it was with Donna, and like Donna is just the like epitome of like hard work and like always
Mm.
working to improve and like taking classes and putting in the hours. And I don't know, I was having a conversation with her and I was like, why? Yeah, why aren't I doing this anymore? I love learning. I'm like, yeah, massive nerd. I love to be learning more things about something I'm so passionate about. Like, I'm going to go back to classes. And yeah, so now I've done another school and I'm now doing these fundamental classes.
Good though. I think it's good. Like I'm enjoying being back at dance classes. I think for me it was finding the time. I had started to prior like it. We haven't talked about it, but like so much of I have a full day job, and I'm sure you've got things as well. Like, but so much of my life is burlesque, and a lot of what I do is burlesque. And if I'm traveling, it's for burlesque. So I almost tried to last year have a bit more doing things not because it fed into burlesque on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that was nice to get a bit of a break. But this year, I know I'm not going to be as traveling as much because we're looking to move house. That's going to take precedence. So I want to do more dancing and stuff as well. Like the balance is going to go the other way. So I'm going to like make sure I find time for that. I think that's a thing you have to be quite conscious of as well.
Yeah, and taking care of your body is so important. It's definitely not something I've always been good at doing. But I
Hmm.
think that could be my short-term goal, is getting into a habit of doing like I'm trying to do like 3 classes a week, like a dance, like an aerobicsy thing, and a strength thing, just to stop injuring myself, to find the joy in dance again, like all these things that I mean, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say I'm good at having a balanced life at all because I think it's hard for any of us to because I think a lot of us are attracted to this art form because we're either quite intense people or we love intensity because it is by the
Hmm.
very nature of being an art form where you have to be a jack of all trades. It's quite an intense thing because you're always no one comes to it knowing all of how to do burlesque. You don't come to it necessarily knowing like costuming or color theory or social media or music editing or dance or like yeah facial acting. Like you don't
Yeah.
come knowing all of it. So you've got to upskill in multiple areas quite rapidly. And then I think I've had so many conversations. Sorry, I'm going on a complete rant. Do like stop me.
I love it. Go.
I feel like I've had conversations backstage where we're all going like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. I just if I could just
Yeah.
focus on this thing, I could be so much better at it, but there's just no time and I'm so tired. And I think it's because we've all got it into our head that we have to be like I don't know, specialists in everything. And
Hmm.
something I'm also trying to teach myself. You know the expression "jack of all trades, master of none" is like quite a
Yes.
common expression. And I think people often use it to sort of put themselves down, like, oh yeah, I could do a lot of things, but not very well. But actually, the full expression is "jack of all trades, master of none is better by far than master of one."
Yeah.
Like that's the full length expression, and not everyone knows that. And I think like just recognizing like actually being so versatile is part of our strength as an art form. Like, in what other art form are you asking people to dance and take off their clothes in often in contexts where there are going to be like physical risks, like whether that's somebody spilt a drink on the floor, if it's in a club environment, or like if the stage is really small, then maybe there's like you can't do all your moves there. Like we are the what's the non-gendered version of Queen? We are the royals, the
Yes, we are the Royals.
royals of adaptability.
We are
Should
the
politely
monarchs.
tighten
Monarchs.
the monarchs of adaptability. We're the MOAs. Um, yeah. So
It's so true though. And I think it's this is where I'm just going off on a wee tangent here, but talking about like comparing yourself as well, like you need to work out where your balance is. Like I said earlier, I talk to Aya all the time and she'll be like, oh yeah, I'm watching back videos of myself performing to like audit my arms. And I'm like, that's nice. Couldn't fucking tell you last time I did that.
yeah.
And sometimes it feels like you're not doing enough, but I kind of know where I need to have those lines and it's different for everyone. And that's okay.
And it's so hard to learn that because I definitely get into like, oh my God, this person's rehearsing all the time. I'm not rehearsing enough. All of like, I'm watching a video and I'm not finishing any of my lines and blah, blah, blah. I'm just being like, again, just coming back to this idea of like, we're literally all just trying to do the best that we can. Like, we're trying to improve, like, we're trying to learn, but like, I feel like we're all slightly on the verge of burnout all the time because we're trying to do all these things and we have to take, like, we have to take measures from knowing ourselves to prevent ourselves like falling over that line. Like probably the only bit of ancient Greek I remember from my degree is No Feast Day Auton, which was written above a temple of Apollo in Delphi, I think. So before you went into the oracle, it would be written above the door. And it means know thyself. And I think like that is the most important thing for any of us is to know ourselves. Sorry, again, that was super fucking poncy. I'm so sorry.
No, I
Uh,
love
it,
it.
it's yeah, poncing it up. But yeah, I think it is the most important thing is to know your limits and know your boundaries. And I know that, like at the moment, I'm skirting close to the
Hmm.
edge, and there are like warning signs that I'm having to try and be like, right, I need to like pull this back. Like this morning, I was so tired, but I made myself go to my strength class because I was like, I know that I need the endorphins and I need
Yeah.
the return that I'm gonna get from this, and that's more important to me right now than like trying to plow through this to-do list. Like that's what I need. Um, I mean, saying that, I've had like my right eye has been twitching since like October now, and my left eye started like 2 weeks ago. So on the daily, there's at least a little tremor in each. So that I'm definitely not like I can't say anything about having a balanced lifestyle, but I am attempting to do better by knowing myself and knowing my limits.
Good. Well, where can our lovely listeners and watchers follow you to see you achieve this balanced life that you speak so highly of?
You'll know that I'm having a more balanced life because I won't be posting. I feel like for me, social media is always the first thing to go. If I'm like overwhelmed, I just have to be like, I have to pull in the nerve endings, make
Mm.
myself feel less exposed. Anyway, that is not the answer to your question. I need to stop tangenting. Where can people find me? They can find me at foufou.kaboom on like all my platforms. I spell FOU dot kaboom. I know it's a stupid name. People warned me when I picked it that no one would be able to spell it, but I liked it, so here we are.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, it was super good to catch up with you. Thank you so much for taking time, especially with your twitchy eyes.
They haven't twitched this whole time though, which I mean, I think that's a sign that the exercise class is already working and the
No,
balance is returning.
it's already solved.
Yeah.
Um, but thank you so much for joining me, lovely, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Bye.